Jeez, that's a fine herd out there, man. Look at the tits on that one.
Tits?
Yeah.
That's a bull. Do you not know balls in a bull when you see one?
It's a bull, is it?
Yeah.
No wonder it took me so long to get the milk out.
Milk?
Yeah.
Jeez, I hope you didn't put that in the tea.
Right, guys, we are great pleasure to bring Morris all the way from North Tipperary.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
All the way from North Tipperary to give us an insight into farming in Ireland at the minute, especially in young people and, well, in the farming community in general.
Yeah.
So I seen a video that you've done. Well, how long ago was that?
It's about 3 months ago.
Yeah, about 3 months ago, and it was a great viewing. So I thought get this man on a podcast and to give an insight into basically something that affects everyone in the country. The farming affects one way or another. If you're not directly involved in it, you're buying their produce in the shops, so on, so forth. We wouldn't be here today without that sort of industry. So, Morris, thanks very much for coming on.
Oh, well, thanks very much, lads.
Thanks for coming on, Morris. Sorry I can't be there. I heard you brought a load of biscuits and sweet cake and everything. I missed out.
Hey, you should never show up to a house empty-handed.
Well,
that's true. That's true. It's very true. It's very true.
And I had to go in then and bring out stuff that he hadn't brought. So basically, there's a, what do you call that, red velvet cake?
Red velvet cake
and pies.
It's not very Christmassy already.
I couldn't bring in this what he actually bought because that's not the done thing, right?
No.
It's like when someone brings a bottle of wine to the house and you're like, oh fuck, I don't have any wine. So you end up opening the one that they actually brought. Yeah. But anyway,
what happens to me though is I bring a bottle of wine, but I want to drink the bottle of wine to a house. But then they end up going, "Oh, that's a lovely bottle of wine." Then they give you a shitty bottle of wine. You're like, "What a drink!" So Mars probably wanted to eat the fucking biscuits that he brought.
Maybe. We might have to go into them later on in the podcast.
Save them for
your outfit. I'll have them made though. Your outfit. I'll have them made.
We'll keep him outside for a while first. Tell us, Morris, what brought you into farming? Were your farming background?
My farming background, no. So my parents, neither of them were farming, but
okay.
I had an uncle who had a farm and I basically wouldn't never go to school. So I spent most of my life growing up on farm with him, I suppose, learning the trade, if you like. And it was always something that came naturally to me. It was just a pure passion, pure love.
Yeah.
Compared to sitting in a classroom and being told, look, recite this, and you ask why, and they say because you have to.
Yeah.
This is what life depicts you have to do in order to be successful. So it just never was my thing, and I left school early. Like I left school just before I was 16, and I basically took a year or two out, and then I went to college then in Mount Bellew Agricultural College to kind of put a stamp on it and say, well, look, I am qualified in something.
Yeah.
And from then on, I was managing farms. I worked up and down the country, and then it was probably, I think it was 2015, I had a bad farm accident involving an angle grinder. Shit. And it just kind of caused me to reevaluate, I suppose, what I was doing and who I was doing it for, because I was putting so much passion, so much energy into other people's businesses, making money for other people, but I wasn't really pursuing what I wanted to do in life. And, you know, that sort of work, it can be hit and miss. It's kind of 6-month contract and you might be looking somewhere else. So I kind of had to knuckle down and I started doing other types of work, lots of different industries, construction, contracting. At the moment, I fit tires. So I do everything from the size of a wheelbarrow up to big equipment like agricultural stuff. And I've taken a break in between that as well. I was at it for a couple of years. I went to Canada, came back, went at it again. It's just a handy trade to know because there's always work in it. And throughout lockdown, I was blessed. Like it was an essential type of work, you know.
Can you survive as a farmer without having to work?
Not unless you're very big.
Not unless you're very big.
Going back to you were working on your uncle's farm. What type of farm did he have?
So he had a mixed enterprise. So he had beef, sheep, he had suckler cows, he also had a couple of thoroughbred horses, and some of the other relations would have dairy farms as well. So I was very blessed in the fact that I got such a good teaching growing up. I had such a broad knowledge of things, and that kind of always stood to me then and after, you know.
It is something that you have to love.
Oh, absolutely.
To do. It's in the blood. It's a bit like, I always liken it to horses.
Yeah.
It's an Irish thing, a real, like I love the horse racing industry. I love horses in general, but the whole thing that goes with it. We had David Mullins on a podcast a year ago.
No, about 6 months ago.
6 months ago. And like for me, that was one of my favorite podcasts because it was about something that I love as much as Pete loves jiu-jitsu or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're planning to have another jockey on as well before the jump season starts in earnest. Yeah. So, but it really is something that is in the blood, and you have to follow that passion. But it's not easy work.
Oh, it'll make you cry.
Yeah,
like they're farmers are very brave in the sense that, like, I suppose they're so optimistic between weather, between prices, they're the most optimistic people you'll ever meet, because you could be out some night 2:30 in the morning, you have a nice big bull calf, and he was just born dead, and there was nothing you could do to stop it.
Yeah.
Everything was out of your hands, it's in God's hands. And for you to be able to say, well, do you know what, I'll put her in calf again, we'll try again next year. That sort of optimism, you won't find it in anyone else, other than farmers and people like that.
Yeah.
It's just pure passion, like, you know.
Well, and it's 24 hours. People don't realize it's 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yeah,
people don't realize. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you could be getting up at any hour in the morning. Like,
that's it. Yeah.
Do you think that there's, because we were such a agricultural, like, we relied on agriculture so heavily for majority of our history, and it's kind of gone away from that over the course of the last probably last 2 generations, really. Like, do you think there's been a little bit of loss of respect for the farming industry and the farmers of the country? Like,
absolutely, but it's all down to pure disconnection from people in say, you know, in city areas. Like, they're disconnected, whereas before, even if you were living in an average town, you knew that, say, maybe 40 years ago, the milk was coming in the milk churn.
Yeah.
The local lad was bringing in his veg.
Yeah.
And that's what made up your local shop, like.
Yeah.
Whereas now they're completely disconnected. They're not actually meeting the person producing it. They're not understanding the care that's going into it.
Yeah.
And with the way, you know, things are being kind of, the spotlight's being put on Irish farming, that it's causing major problems, even though we're only a blip on the map.
100%, but it's an easy target.
Easy target.
We'll get into that as well further down the podcast. But you're right about the disconnect. You see, so many multinational supermarkets are here now, and it's mass produce, and no one sees.
It's changed the way we eat.
Yeah. Plus, as well, you'll never see dirt on a carrot in an Aldi or a Lidl
or an egg.
Yeah, or exactly. But you will on mine, actually. That's one thing that I can proudly say that
he shits on eggs.
We have my uncle, who's only up the road, has a load of chickens and ducks. I love duck eggs. Duck eggs are way better than hen eggs. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
There's going to be a fight in the comments now where people fucking.
Some people get disgusted when I actually bring the eggs around with me.
Yeah.
So I bring my own eggs.
he brings them everywhere. Yeah, he brings them everywhere with him.
But there's no cake like a cake made out of duck eggs.
That's it. Yeah.
That's a fact.
But there's such a disconnect. Everything is polished to look perfect in a supermarket, and that sort of disconnect is going on. And you know, it's sad to see, because it's a tradition. You know,
it's culture.
You love.
Hopefully, I think I have hope that there's a bit of a revolution going now. I think people want to grow their own food. People want to know where their meat's come from. They want to shop local. So maybe not now, but in the next couple of years, that might change. Hopefully, I'm thinking with the long likes of yourself, Morris, talking on Facebook about your farm, and the consumer wants to buy. He doesn't want to be buying fucking stuff from New Zealand or fucking Chile. Not that there's anything wrong with New Zealand or Chile.
Yeah. But like chlorinated chicken from America or something.
Yeah.
Like
well,
that.
Exactly. Yeah, chicken that's pumped full of shite. Like, do you know what I mean? People don't want that.
No.
People want to buy local. But the only thing is, they're not making it easy to buy local.
No.
Plus, people don't want to spend a little bit more on buying local. They want it nice and cheap.
Yeah.
So
Plus, society has made everything so it's a convenient culture. Everything is convenient instead of being actually better.
Yeah.
You know, it's convenient meal. A convenient meal is like put in the microwave, bash it out, full of salt, by the way, absolutely atrocious for you. Yeah. And there's an awful, like that, to use the word again, a disconnect when it comes to that as well. But you mentioned there about being your voice on Facebook and Instagram. You set up you set up a page.
Yeah, so like when I first bought my land, which was in 2018, I had family asking me for photos and stuff of the land. They're like, "Oh, what did you do?" and this, that, and the other. I said, "Look, I'm fucked up sending you all WhatsApps." I said, "I'm going to set up an Instagram page. You can all follow it." And like, okay, 20 friends and family followed it. But next thing I had 50. I didn't realize it was open. This is how useless it was on social media.
Yeah.
And 50 people, 100 people, 150 people. And then I took a photo from behind myself. You couldn't see what it looked like. And I just gave a brief description. And that just all of a sudden, just people got intrigued.
Yeah.
And I started talking from behind the camera. People got more intrigued. So I kind of done it as a gradual build-up. And there's a guy now at the moment, he's actually up this part of the world. And he's called Farming Life. He's on Instagram and he's doing the same thing. He's doing that reveal and teaching people at the same time, because people just get locked in and they get, you know, they really want to know, they want to be able to follow somebody's journey.
Well, like the horses as well, the farming community, it can be a tight community.
Like,
very tight.
We know each other up and down the country.
Up and
it's
down
amazing
the
country.
How
small
yeah, of course.
Like my uncle Jack, I've two uncles from my mother's brother and my father's brother, both have the family farms and they've kept them going. John will be smaller than Jack, but Jack is known all over the country.
Yeah.
Like any place you'll go, be it Tipperary, Cork, if you get talking into someone will know at some stage.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just the way it is. And
I was going to make a joke there, but it was very inappropriate.
you should have been. You should have.
I was going to say pervert Jack, they know him all up and down the country.
But another thing is behind the camera and speaking for farmers. I know that there's local lads here, Alan Heaney and the Mayo cyclists cycled all around the country last year.
It was
last year, but they'd also done a year previously as well, and I think they cycled from France to Ireland, but it was they'd done it for a couple of charities, but one of their main ones was
Macra, that's right. Yeah.
So that was like to bring in the mental health side of
young people.
In farming, because it can be a lonely industry as well.
It is a very lonely occupation, you know, and especially, you know, in Ireland it's pretty common that you'll have only children in families, you know, and they're sitting at home with mum and dad, and throughout lockdown and stuff, they weren't getting to see anyone. And you know, you go out, if you have a farm that's all in one block, it's around the house, you're not going to travel anywhere where you need something. So some lads can go, you know, 3, 4, 5 days without really having to leave home. And that you can get very locked in yourself, and if you get down on yourself, it becomes very dangerous. And we had a great incentive there in Mocker and Farm that was called Make the Move. And it was ran by Bill Gleeson and John Keane. And that was just to try and get people talking in mental health, because we had an awful blast of suicides down around Tipperary area. And throughout the country as well, people who were in Mocker that we knew that we could have been friends with, and you know, stuff like that. And it's unfortunately that can go into a ripple effect in parishes, and you will see that from time to time, that you can just get a burst of where there is a lot of young men suffering, in particular young men. There are women obviously as well, but you know, the men's health in Ireland is not where it should be. Mental health.
That's in general, and November obviously is happening this month as well. So
it's the stresses, though, I think, when it comes to farming. It's, you know, there's such large amounts of money at stake for very little reward. You know, like your capital that you're turning over per annum, it could be massive, but what your profit is scandalous. Like, you're talking tiny percentages. There's no other business that's buying everything at retail cost and selling at a wholesale price.
You
know,
how do we fix that?
How do we fix it? I don't think you could say it on camera.
Believe me, you can say anything you want on this.
No, Morris, you can say anything you want. You can say anything you want, yeah.
What will be used against it later? But like, really, what we need.
So can you explain that to me again, Morris? Sorry, I'm not the fastest on the uptake. You're on about your supplies and stuff. You're buying stuff at cost, and you have to sell them at
wholesale prices. Yeah, the farmer is the wholesaler, remember, to the retailer. You're selling cattle at a wholesale price to, you know, a slaughterhouse, who then sell it again at another wholesale price to the retailer, who then sell it to the consumer at a retail price.
Okay, so
I've heard that before.
It's gone up. It's a certain price, and then it's a certain price, and then it goes double when it's in the supermarket. Okay.
You look maybe at the price of beef in some shops, it'll give you per kilo. Just remember, your farmer, like, we're just going to say for argument's sake, it's $9.50 a kilo piece of mince on a shelf, your farmer's maybe getting 250 that if he's lucky. When you really trace it all the way back through. So now my figures aren't correct, but
I know,
I'm just putting in,
just giving an example.
It's one of these things though, like as these supermarkets have become bigger and bigger Goliaths, they have more and more of a stranglehold over a smaller country like us, where there is no collective bargaining when we're that small against a multinational like Tesco that has more floor space in China than the rest of the world put together. So they're looking for product, but Ireland's just a small, tiny little. So it means that when you're out on your own in Tipperary or Mayo, the amount of power you have, even though the quality of the meat that you're producing is amazing,
is none. You have no power, and especially the most dangerous thing what's happening in Ireland at the moment, and it's happening behind closed doors. People aren't probably even aware of it if they're not anything to do with farming. But we've the likes of the slaughterhouses now. A lot of them, and one man in particular, Mr. Goodman, has cattle feedlots all over the country. So even if Irish farmers decide to go strike in the morning and say, you know what, we're going to boycott them, we're not selling any cattle, lads. They still have 6 months supply of cattle, so they don't care.
Explain. Is it Larry? Larry Goodman.
Larry Goodman.
So explain that story from the beginning to now, because I've heard, since I was a kid, I've heard this name.
So long and short of it is, Larry Goodman started off with nothing. That's basically what he started off.
Is he Irish?
He's Irish. He's a farm up in Loud, and now he's the monopoly man of Ireland, and not just in farming. Like,
but how did he get there? How did he get to that position?
No, I don't.
How was he let get to that position?
As the man says, I know the story, but I'm trying to think how you relay it. Like, he was involved in a lot of scandals between the department and the government over the years, where per heads of cattle and grants he was getting, and there was over head payments as well about cattle getting killed, and the premiums that were on them that he was able to then claim back. And there's all them little steps make up for a big picture at the end. And
he's also got he has slaughterhouses all across Europe.
Yes.
So in Sweden, say,
was he given? Not that the government have ever given special attention to
it wouldn't be like them.
No.
So would he have got a leg up?
He's got legs up, but more than anything, the rules were often bent for him.
Yeah.
And they're still bent for him. And look, the likes of him is classified, what most farmers would classify as an armchair farmer.
Yeah.
So the likes of him and some other very wealthy landlords, we'll call them, around the country are pulling savage payments from Europe. And the likes of me is told, go hop.
Yeah.
Like, I've had no payments to date, and I'm in my first year under my own herd number and all this.
Okay.
And the hoops I'm trying to jump through just to maybe get €1,500. And what are you going to do with €1,500? Nothing.
Yeah.
But some of these boys are pulling, hundreds of thousands of euros every year for nothing. It's just a bonus to them.
Yeah, it's one of these things where these regulations are set up to not give you any power, but is to increase the power of the wealthy that are already there.
And you'll see during the week there, Leo Varadkar and the Minister for Agriculture were very happy to come and say, we're giving 70 million to the farmers of Ireland. They did in their bollocks. That goes to all the cooperatives, basically, all the big corporations.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, oh no, it'll sift down to the farmers level. No, it's not going to ever sift down.
Well, 70 million wouldn't be worth a wank.
No, it's like
in the grander scheme of things.
No, it's nothing. But the way they sell it, they're always selling it that, the money is going down to the farmers level. It's never going to the farmers level. And conveniently, you'll see often where the IFA will protest, right? In conjunction with just before a large sum of money is given out to farmers. And that is the biggest joke that ever went. The IFA are not what they state they are.
Okay.
The high up guys on that wearing the suits are pulling big money themselves. But
of course.
They could do a protest they could do a protest on a Wednesday in support of Irish farmers. And miraculously, the Irish government decided to give out maybe 70 million on the Friday. And they say, look what we done for you, lads. We've done great work, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it's all just a show because they're working together.
Yeah, of course.
And it's all about pleasing the crowd and keeping the mob in tune.
So what you're saying is that 70 was in the bag anyway.
Yeah.
And now they're just making a job for themselves.
Yeah,
exactly.
But can we go back? Can we go back to say, you were saying like the price of beef and the wholesalers, but you were saying your man has got a monopoly. If you were to go on strike now, if all the farmers to go on strike, they still have a backlog of cattle that they can. Oh, wow.
That's. I was telling you about the herd number before. There has to be a certain amount of cattle in the country.
Yes, there does.
At any one, there has to be a certain amount of beef in the country at any one time, and that's what the herd number is about. Is that
that's basically it. Yeah.
Remember me telling you about that before, Pig?
Yeah, you're telling me that before. You were saying, is that in case there's an emergency or something for food?
Exactly.
Is it?
If we ended up completely landlocked and we had to survive, Ireland had no income and outgoing exports of food, you know, the UK at the moment, they're dropping down below what I would call a dangerous level. They're going down below a 75% self-sufficiency as a country. So that's between meat, veg, and other products as well.
That's because of Brexit.
That is because of Brexit.
Yeah.
But it's also because, you know, they too are going into this much larger scale farming. And in fairness, the only person who's actually doing any standing up for them in the UK is Jeremy Clarkson. He's the only one bringing it to the regular person sitting in the middle of London.
Because it's his own TV show.
Yeah, because he's his own TV show.
It's his own TV show, yeah.
Yeah, he is doing great work by them.
From Top Gear.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He's got a new TV show, Clarkson's Farm.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't watch much television.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest, I've only seen an episode or two myself.
Yeah. I do actually. A lot of people don't like him. I actually don't mind him.
Yeah.
You know, he's direct.
Yeah, I'm not gone on him. I always thought he was a bit of a bollocks, but he's kind of won me over lately because I was watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire the other day, and he was like, he's not the worst. Do you know what I
mean?
Yeah.
But so Mars, can you tell us if there's a young fella watching now, how would he get into farming if he wanted to get into farming?
Would you advise a young fella to get into farming?
No.
Yeah. Would you advise him?
No, that would be my first answer. But like at the same time, everyone told me, "What are you at? Don't do that. Like, go off, get a good job for yourself." Even when I was a young fella. And then when I told people I wanted to go off and work on farms, I said, don't do that. And when I told them I was buying a farm, they thought they were going to have to send me into the mental asylum. Mm-hmm. They're like, that's nuts. Like, you're not.
From I know you said earlier that your dad passed away a month ago. And we were sorry to hear that. I didn't realize that at all. And we'll talk about that towards the end as well. But what did your mother and father think when they weren't from a farming background?
You know, they thought I kind of lost my marbles, especially when I showed them the land that I was buying, because on the surface, it hadn't been farmed in nearly 15, 20 years. It was very rough. It was nobody in the location where it was would buy it. So that'll give you a feel of what it was like.
You're doing an old bull McCabe on it, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, and I am a bit of a bull McCabe. I don't mind saying that. And I have the reputation to go with it as well. You know, you kind of have to be that way too. But, you know, a lot of people would often go about the fact I'd be a very stubborn person. But I've never seen it as something that held me back. It's something that brings me forward because there's no give in. Like if you start hitting me, I tell you, hit me harder.
Yeah.
And you have to have that mindset. If you really want to achieve something, put your head and put your shoulder in behind the wheel and push something, you have to be one stubborn fucker.
Yeah. I think that's a great, if anything, if you're going to take anything from this podcast, that kind of headstrong mentality is the only way to success. Like,
not just in farming, but in anything that you want to do in life, you have to give it everything.
Absolutely.
So what made you choose this piece of land?
It just kind of came on. Like I was living in Galway for a long time. Like I was living in Galway on and off nearly 7-8 years. I tried to buy farms up around say Athenry, Mount Bellew, that kind of country, and I always got outbid or something went wrong in the sale. And just I'd be somebody who I suppose is in tune or maybe holistically, if you like, or something like that. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah, okay.
And this land just happened to come up one night on the internet, came to me, and I just said, I want to go down and look at that. There's something about that, something has a draw on it. And I went down, and when I walked the land, and I said, geez, this place is rough, like. But at the same time, in my mind's eye, I said to myself, geez, I'm going to have a pond there and the roadway here.
Okay, felt good.
Yeah, I could just feel it all coming to me. And I asked the man beside it, I said, is anyone going to buy it? He said, no. He said, if you're mad enough, he said, buy it. And since then, like, we're 4 years on, it's green paddocks, there's a pond there. I've done everything I said I would, like everything I could see in my head.
What are you farming on there? What's your herd like?
I got 5 heifers in the spring and I calved them down, so I have 5 cows. I had one calf actually died, but I got an adopted calf and adopted onto her. And I lamb down ewes, and that's basically what I do. And look, like I said, I'm only starting out.
Yeah,
there's plans for the future, and it depends if I can ever expand the business and stuff like that as well.
Getting back to if a young fella says I want to go farming, and that's it, you're not going to change my mind. What is the process? You mentioned Mount Bellew. Is Mount Bellew the agricultural school?
It's one of the agricultural schools. Yeah.
Is there more in the country?
There's at the moment I think there's 5 or 6.
Okay, I thought Mount Bellew was the only one.
No, so there's 5 or 6. hey, for all the men up this country, Mount Bellew is the only one. They all like driving home to Mammy some nights. As well, get to wash the clothes. But look, I get messages every week of people, men, women, girls, boys, who want to go off and do something like I done. If it never gets any bigger than a couple of acres, just be able to go have the few chickens, have a couple of goats, whatever it is, because that is so therapeutic to people.
Yeah.
The benefit to somebody's mind, it's no different than having a dog in the house. The benefit that will bring to your life, you won't believe till you experience it. So I always tell them, go do it. Like, honest to God, but don't listen to anyone. I was like, everyone's going to tell you you're mad.
Yeah.
I was like, but if you're going to do it right, like follow it through. Don't do something if it's only half-assed, because not only are you putting yourself into maybe very large debt, there's the mental size of it, that you're going to doubt yourself 100 times in the process. Like, there was more times I doubted myself and like, fuck, what have I actually done here now? Have I bitten off more than I can chew, kind of thing? And you know, and I said, more than anything, I said, you'll go and you look at maybe 20 different places you'd like to buy, but I said only one will give you that feeling. You know, that is the big thing. You have to have that feel of a place, and you have to feel that like you're welcome there as well. Because look, there's been videos come up online where you see neighbours having disagreements. Yeah. You can't go in somewhere where you're not wanted.
There's been tragedies.
Yeah, there's been tragedies. And I'm very big on, you know, I suppose the old traditions of Ireland and being respectful for where you are and stuff. Now, don't get me wrong too. There's times where you have to stand on lads' toes and say, here, fuck off. Like.
Yeah.
But you have to go into a place with the right intentions.
Yeah.
And make sure that you are welcomed to an extent, and that don't step on anyone's toes, and just, you know,
you have to be thick-skinned.
At the same time
at the same time as well. But obviously, like, I mean, anyone that's a decent person goes in always with the best intention, especially when you're in a different land. And land is such an Irish thing.
Yeah.
Crazy. Irish people love land.
Well, I suppose there's like this deep connection because land was taken off us for 800 years. We're still, in relative terms,
that's right. I suppose we are.
So to have something that was yours and rightfully yours, and to fight for a long time and only have it for a number of years, obviously that might not be the feeling when people fall out over land and stuff. But there is definitely a deep-seated connection with what this country and its people, you know. I suppose the way I look at it is because obviously my grandfather was a farmer. My father, I remember when he passed away 20 years ago, my father took on the running of a small farm as well as doing his own bits and pieces. So we always had cattle as when I was a young fella growing up, but there was no money in it.
No.
So now my father's a bricklayer. That was his income. But it was just to have it's just to keep the farm running. And like eventually he got out the beef just, and it was only a couple of weanlings or whatever, you know. But you kind of, it's different. Like, it's a lot of hard work for not a lot of gain.
That's it.
There's a couple of horses there to keep the grass down.
But
a lot of families have gone like that.
It's like keeping a tradition. Traditionally as well, farming is passed down. You know, to the son, or you know, I was going to ask a question in a few minutes about girls getting into farming, but it's traditionally the son gets it, keeps the farm going. But because I think the boom, I think a lot of people, when they were getting jobs other places,
went away from it.
Went away from it, and a lot of farms were left.
Well, there was also a rush to construction as well. There's all the jobs were in construction that were well paid.
It's also, I think, a population thing as well. A lot of people went to the cities, and the young fella isn't want to stay around the countryside. There's no women. He won't get the hop for himself. Like, you know what I mean?
Is there that's a big
thing. That's a big thing. Like, do you know what I mean? The ride is important.
We should set up like a Tinder just for farmers.
That's what Macra is.
Don't do.
Oh, is it?
I said one night in the pub. I said one night in the pub. I said, they were on about Macra and the roots of Macra. I said, lads, let's look we read here. I said, Macra was a breeding program. You know, like, but that is kind of like, you know, that is not what Macra is about. Macra is about experiences, and like you get to go off and you play sports every week. And I'm a big fan of Macra. I couldn't promote it enough to people, because you see people come into a club who might be quite shy and quite reserved, and they're with like-minded people, because they mightn't fit in the GA club, they mightn't fit in you know, the jiu-jitsu club, or they mightn't fit in somewhere else, but they're kind of around people who are just you know, maybe they're all the odd ones out, maybe in certain circles, but there they can fit in. It's all even ground. And look, even if you're not into soccer and you're not into all these things, you might be into drinking. We do plenty of nights out, like, you know, we go on holidays.
Oh, I like drinking.
Well,
yeah. So there's always something for everyone. And there's debate.
What is? Can you explain? Can you explain what it is? What's it stand for, Mocker? What does it mean? Is it's a young farmers group? Is it or?
Well, see, it's
nationwide.
People, yeah, but people depicted that it's for young farmers. Like most clubs will have teachers, nurses, people working the bank, credit union.
Yeah,
it's a social outlet, as I said, for I think people who don't necessarily click with other groups, and you don't have to be an athletic to take part. You can be a scholar to take part because we want you for debating, and you learn to become, you know.
Well, there's obviously a common interest. Yes. Everyone has the same interest.
But it's for rural people specifically. Now, it is in the cities, obviously, and there's some of them abroad and things like that. But it really is, it's for people 17 to 35, just to be able to meet people in their locality, to have that night away, and especially like for mental health. Isn't it great to know that, look, geez, I've no one to hang out with on Friday, but Mocker are going down bowling. Should I go with them?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then I suppose a lot of people get memberships because the insurance companies give discounts if you're a member of Mocker, and you can get different discounts.
Well, why do you say new members?
Exactly, you know. But I have to say, no, there's a lot of pros to it, and they're also
you get the hop and you get cheaper insurance. You're really selling Mocker.
We've our own version of Queen of the Rose of Tralee, which is the Queen of the Land. Yeah. So that's always good. I will do up in the Midlands, and there's Mr. Personality, and there's lots of different things like that where you go and, you know, there could be 500-600 people at it, and you're just going to have the best time of your life. You're going to meet so many people.
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to obviously being from a lonely existence. To have that outlet is just an absolute necessity.
Yeah.
You know, and creating a community like that.
Speaking of Queen of the Land, is there more and more women getting into farming, or is
huge?
It is,
and I think it's brilliant. And not from a lad's perspective, as in just there's more women around the place. No, as in, I think that they're being taken more seriously, and there's some great women in Ireland on the likes of social media. I could name them all day long.
Yeah.
But they're showing that they are more than capable and better than a lot of the fellas at certain things, because women tend to be more kind of, I think, precise and careful and things like that, you know. And they give a good kind of show for people who don't know about farming. I think they might find it easier to watch a woman doing it, rather than some of the lads who might say, you know, this cow now is 5 years old, we're going to kill her off, kind of thing. Whereas she might say, a woman might put it in such a way that, you know,
it's going to a better place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they can word things a bit better, you know, to a certain extent.
Yeah, more subtle.
But they're also standing up for what they are. Like, there are there's plenty of farmers never had sons.
You know. Of course.
But another thing with a woman as well, especially when she's in a man's industry, she has a point to prove.
Yes.
You know, you'll often see. I was a plasterer for so many years. I only ever seen one lady plasterer.
Yeah.
You know, but she by Christ, she went out to prove
that she could
do it.
Yeah. There should be no barriers to do, no matter who you are. You should be able to do whatever the fuck you want to do.
100%. You know, it's great to see women.
It's easier to run with the herd sometimes than go out and break out and do your own thing. And I suppose there was a lot of that. There's, you know, it's not. It wasn't a woman's world, or that would be perceived like that.
Is that still in the mindset of older farmers?
I think it is a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think they even mean it.
Yeah,
you know, it's not meant in a mean way or discriminatory way or even a male chauvinist way. It's just that wasn't how they were reared. They're not used to seeing a woman driving a tractor.
As Pete would say, the brain won't allow.
No, the brain won't allow. You know what I'd say is like, you know, what I admire about them is, and I watch a lot of them on the different social media accounts and stuff, because they can't do it the harder way. They fucking find easier ways.
Yeah.
Like, whereas me mullicking at something, pulling and dragging,
working smart, not hard.
They're working smart, not harder. And I'm like, geez, that's a good idea. So, and when it comes to social media, I suppose one thing you notice is like, I mean, a couple of lads have often joked about this. Like, say, there's a group of myself and a couple of other fellas. We all have written around nearly 6,000 followers. But if we were women, we'd have 20,000 followers. You know, and there is a little bit of that, like, you know, easier on the eye and easier to listen to and things like that. And look, they do great and they get great promotional work and stuff like that. And I think fair play to them for doing it. And I think Ireland is just in the agricultural kind of sense and farming sense, it's going to be, I think it'll be very 50-50 in the years to come. I think it's a good thing too. You know, definitely.
Well, it'll bring a whole new perspective to it as well.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, going into one of Stephen's favorite topics on your government support, or the lack of it.
What can the government do
to
improve farming life in Ireland?
Well, if anything, there was
a small
always
farmer in particular.
The farming community in Ireland was predominantly a Fianna Fáil base.
Yes,
it was the powerhouse for Fianna Fáil traditionally.
And before you continue any further, even the construction boom that came in Ireland was helped in the previous years by farmers.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Farmers were going in, building
infrastructure,
sheds, the whole works, and they were always the ones that would pay their bill in these hardware stores and that. Hardware stores used to love to see farmers come because they were guaranteed payment. Yeah. Big builders came in and left big fucking bills after them and left some smaller hardware stores broke.
Yeah, went post.
Yeah, and only for the farmers that was coming in regularly with their checks and paying for cement and so on and so forth, they would be gone.
But that base seems to be massively fractured now. Fianna Fáil don't seem to, like, they've obviously gone, quote, demographically, like more people are living in cities. This is more important to us now.
Yeah, well, that's what the vote is now.
You know, that's where
their vote is in Dublin, like.
Yeah.
And you know, there's only good TDs and they're independent TDs. You have the likes of Carol Nolan, you have it's Richard O'Donoghue from down in Limerick, and you know, a few people like that who are willing to go up to the Dáil and give them a bollocking, like, and remind them, you know, there's more to Ireland than just Dublin or just Cork or any of these big cities.
Was it Richard O'Donoghue that went viral there a couple of weeks ago in breaking down
the diesel cost?
Yeah. So for anyone, we'll probably put a link into that video because it's actually a brilliant breakdown of why
on the 100.
Is that where he mentions this?
It's a rural tax in the price of diesel going up. That's what it is.
Because if you remember, like, no more than me in an average week, like I probably burn double, triple the amount of diesel that somebody in Dublin does.
Yeah, I'd say even more than that.
And like, I'm not being funny, fill a Jeep with diesel, it's €110.
Yeah.
And I think to figure
fill a Jeep, my car. My car is a Passat, and it's €115 to fill it from
top to bottom. But remember who's getting €59 of that?
Yeah.
Government. And where does it get spent? On a new bridge in Dublin, on a new road in the city centre.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that is why, like, when you break it down, it's not, there are infrastructure projects going on across the country.
Yeah.
But the majority of them are relaying the road on the M50.
Yes.
Constantly.
Come up with a plan. What's the first thing you do with diesel alone?
Diesel alone?
Yeah. Is this possible? Is it possible to get like an agricultural credit card for fuel card? Would that help?
You could do things like that, but I think the main thing
for the government to put in place.
Yeah. If the government, they need to decide.
And charge less VAT, sorry.
Yeah, well, look, the VAT is the first starting point.
Yeah.
And especially for people who are under certain incomes, like the amount of tax people are paying is scandalous because it's across the board. You're paying it in everything. You're paying these extra charges. Even when I was coming here, there was an elderly lady now, she was in her 80s in front of me in the shop, and she was paying for power for the house. And she was paying it for somebody else, must be some other elderly friend who couldn't come out. And she said, I want to get €30 power for the house. And your one says, there's a 50-cent charge on that. And your one, in fairness, I love an old Irish woman, like, she said, why? She said, because there's a 50-cent charge on it. And she said, but why? Like, I'm paying the €30. Why would I pay a 50-cent charge on it? She goes, because that's the holder's fee now. But she said, no, well, then it should be, you know, I'm paying €30. She said, they're getting $29.50 and they take the other 50 out of it.
Yeah.
Now people on top. So but unfortunately, we're losing those people. Like, they're going to be gone. Another 20 years, the good people we know, our grandparents, our uncles, stuff, they're going to be gone.
Salt of the earth.
Yeah, the salt of the earth, the people who were able to say, here, fuck up now and listen. Those people are going to be gone. And you have all these fucking people now who are woke and they're snowflakes and they just lie down for every baiting that comes.
Yeah.
You know, and every charge that comes, they won't stand up and fight for what's happening here in Ireland. They're all great to stand up, put up photos, you know, support this campaign, support that campaign.
Yeah. As long as it's easy.
As long as it's easy, it doesn't require much work. And as long as it's fashionable.
Yeah.
As long as it's
what do you call that? Virtue signaling?
Yes, virtue signaling.
Virtue signaling, yeah.
Back on to what you asked me, I suppose, about picking out what the government need to do. you look at the price of tax alone on your vehicles now, like it's all about you need to have an eco car, you need to have this and the other. If I am driving something that costs €750 a year to tax, that should be nearly abolished. It should be a straight charge for every vehicle because the tax is in the fuel. So you should be having to pay more tax by buying more fuel, if that makes sense, as opposed to having to pay a big wad on the yoke to start off with. Vice versa, you know, there's little ways that they could give some sort of incentives. When it comes to young farmers, there needs to be way more money allocated. The president of Acre stuck to our Minister for Agriculture lately, and he laid it out for them, and they don't want to hear it. Like, they're not going to address these issues.
But do they, like, does the government in Ireland, do they want young farmers going into farming?
No.
Or would they rather another Tyson Foods from America that bought done?
They would rather.
They'd rather one of them conglomerates come in here, take over another couple of farms, and just
Well, you see,
from there.
the only place that would really work anyway, if that is the case, is where there's good land. Like in Connacht, let's face it, let's call a spade. We don't have the best of land, so you're never
take that back. Take that back. Take that back. I'm up in Leitrim.
Great land up here in Leitrim. Chill out.
Look, go down to Balmullet. You show me a green field of Balmullet, and I'll take everything.
Oh yeah, listen, you're causing trouble now. You're fucking causing trouble now. Gavin, get a fucking headbutt you.
My mother will be in here now, flipping the head.
But basically, at the end of the day, we're going to always have small farmers in Connacht, and there's I'm sure there's places in Munster as well. That it's just the way of life down there.
They want them gone.
Yeah, I know they want them gone.
They absolutely want them gone, especially in the West. Like, it is the West.
Why do they want them gone? Why do they want them gone? They feel they're not productive enough.
Well, they think they're not productive enough. I think that the government think, or what they're trying to sell is that they create more harm than good. That they're not really adding to society or something like that, when they actually are. Because you think of the west of Ireland, or even where we are now at the moment, the average farm around here is probably between 15 to 30 acres. That is all it is, unless you've mountain commonage as well. So you can't be taking pride of that you own 5,000 acres, you're sharing it. Do you know? So they want to get rid of all them small farms, and they just want to plant, I would say, from, say, Tuam or Headford up to the top of Donegal. They want to plant it. They wanted a national park. Then what they want to do with the south is they want to filter it out even more so than it already is. So, like, say, I have a neighbour there who has 70, 80 cows. They want him gone. They want Jim down the road, who already has 500 cows, buy his place, start zero grazing that, bringing the grass over, and just constantly multiplying single assets, if that makes sense. And getting rid of, see, you have to remember, for inspections, all these things, it needs more people. If there's less farms, there's less inspections, there's less overheads of keeping an eye on it, there's less accounts to keep check on. They're just trying to simplify everything, bring people into the cities. Like, that's the big push.
But on the flip side of that, you're taking away like generations.
Generations
and
of
a lifestyle
and incomes and
a history.
Tradition.
I'm not being funny. What's around here? Nothing.
Well, with the rig.
You have the rig. Like, if you go into the local town here, the money, if you were able to track the cash that's coming in there, or the payments, where they come from, I guarantee they're all 90% of it come from part-time farmers around here, because your locality here is made up of part-time farmers, or else they're driving. A lot of them here be driving to Galway to work. Like, they're going into Boston Scientific or Tormo King.
Chris has to go
to But the vast majority of the rest of the schools, all that kind of stuff, it's all farmers' money that's holding up the economy. They pull them out of recessions. They pay for everything. And when you see how
we're an agricultural nation.
Yes.
We're famous for it. We have perfect climate to create lush green grass 90% of the year.
What did you say that your man said to you, P, about our greatest asset?
It's our rain. The rain is our greatest asset, and people always give out about it. I was doing volunteering on an organic farm for vegetables. I'm doing a course now how to grow.
That's right.
I'm doing a course how to grow organic vegetables, and this farmer was saying people always give out. We're having a cup of tea and a few biscuits, looking out for the rain. And he goes, people always give out about the rain, but it's what makes the grass and the land. Like, there's some brilliant land even for racehorses. You said some of the best land in the world for racehorses.
The best race course, the best ground in the whole entire world. It has been tried and tested. Is the Curragh.
Yeah. So
the
there you
fairest,
go. But
the
like,
fairest ground in any race
And
course in the world.
if you're ever going through the Curry, you can understand why.
Yeah,
It's flat. It's ideal.
We drove through it there when we were coming down from what gig?
Newbridge.
gig,
but Mars, do you think there's, like you're saying about they're trying to get rid of the farm, but I think they're trying to get rid of
rural
people
Ireland.
living in the countryside, full stop. They don't want people living, like, what's wrong with like maybe creating some sort of homegrown industry that you can become semi-self-sufficient and, do you know what I mean? And then improving the community, do you know?
I'll tell you the biggest problem. You won't be spending any money if you're self-sufficient. You won't be complying when you're self-sufficient. There's all them things. They have no handle on you when you go out on your own into the, like, not that you can really escape in Ireland. It's different for people in Alaska. You know, if we were in a bigger country, geez, we'd be blessed. You could just vanish. And that is the truth. You could vanish. You'd never be seen again and you'd live a happy fucking life.
Pete, you'd love that.
And, you know,
we'd find you, Pete.
We would find you. we need you for the live shows.
Just as well we're not in Alaska, because I'd fucking vanish, Mark.
Oh, even God, like, you wouldn't.
I'm the same. Like, I'm well prepared, you know, to just, I could go, and that is it. And there's nothing I'd love more than to do is that. But
it's one of these things like I don't know, the rhetoric around, it's almost like an attack on farmers over the course of the last
it's attack on our culture. Never leave the farmers out of it. It's attack on Irish culture. They want you to all have the same uniform house in off the road. Look what the county councils are doing, refusing planning permission, which is scandalous. But funny enough, if your local TD wanted to build a mansion, he gets permission and it'd be on the top of the hill over the sight line.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Like, whether people like it or not, it's the whole thing is corrupt.
Or if you're in Westlife.
Yeah.
They have two big massive houses. Just as you said it, they have two big massive houses overlooking one of the lakes down the side.
Westlife, we're calling you out.
Yeah, we're calling you out as well, Westlife. I'm giving Westlife an awful grilling over the last few weeks.
Why are you giving Westlife such a bad tune?
No, I just decided I'd start picking on them.
You should leave them alone on the project.
Should they singing those shite songs for years? You have it hard enough.
In Ireland now, though, it's all about conformity. Like, if you know, hypothetically, a 50, 60 grand there maybe saved away if you were lucky enough, and you decide you want to build your own cabin on your own land, you are going to be told no. Yeah,
100% you're going to be told
no. And my advice to anyone who's in that situation, fucking build it. Because fight it after. You're better off asking for forgiveness than asking for permission.
There's plenty of them that have done
even if they're going to knock it, by the time you go through the course, by the time you go through everything, it's going to be 10 years down the road. The world could be a different place. In Ireland, we're the only country that has so many fucking homeless people, and we have absolutely every way that we can solve it. There's nothing stopping them going outside Dublin there now and picking some part of land. You know, it could be 100 acres. You could bang in a load of 2-bedroom log cabins there. There's a fucking homeless sort.
But even the houses, and this is getting away from farming.
Houses are unfinished during the boom as well. There's no unfinished houses.
There's full estates that no one has ever been and never ghost estates, and they're still there. And then what they're doing with some of them is fucking knocking them.
Yeah,
you know, when they could actually just buy them up, finish them off, and put the homeless people in.
Mike as well, though. So
like that's another fucking fuck up.
Yeah,
the rent to buy scheme isn't good enough in Ireland either.
No, but I think that's also putting a plaster on a gaping wound.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Like they're not putting the rent to buy.
Explain that.
So the rent to buy scheme is that if you go into an agreement, the rent that you're going to pay over 5 years of living in this house will be knocked off the price of your mortgage.
Yes.
Okay. But realistically, inflation's probably going to fuck you up by that, because inflation's.
I do know that a good mate of mine, Kevin McDonald, actually, he has a property portfolio over in England. And that's exactly how he's selling it.
And you can. In theory, it works, but as the price of houses is going higher and higher, and inflation is going higher and higher, you're not getting any value on first the rent that you're paying, and then the second one that you're not going to get the mortgage unless you're going to be moving closer and closer to Dublin.
Yeah.
So it all sounds really good in theory, but in reality, it doesn't really work.
Yeah. And like the price of building materials is gone mad. Like I'm renovating.
Oh, I know that.
At college at the moment. The way I said to somebody lately was like, last year I bought €1,000 worth of timber for the house, and they'd bring it up in a lorry. And the next day I rang, only a couple of months ago, I rang them for another €1,000 worth of timber. And I said, right, will you get the boys to deliver that? He said, I hardly want us to deliver that. I said, what do you mean? Sure, just an awful lot of timber. He says, no, Mercy. He said, come in and have a look at it. I went in, I put it all on the roof of the Jeep.
Yeah.
I
do know that.
I nearly cried looking at it.
Yeah.
To know, because
timber's gone doubled in price.
Yeah, when you think about what the work I did
to get money
from Brexit. That's Brexit, but you know what it is too? It's the government here won't hand out the felon licenses. That's a lot of it. That's why the price of timber too. Like, we're not supplying ourselves enough, never mind anyone else.
Yeah.
And there's so much of those forests, like around my village, there's 4 of those citrus spruce forests.
You don't like them?
I fucking hate them. They're
shy
fruit.
I like the aesthetics of them. I just like trees in general.
No, these are.
No, they're terrible. I used to think that too.
The whole thing is shit.
The whole thing is
the way they plant them is they throw a load of fucking chemicals in the hole and kill everything around the fucking place, and then they grow up really quick.
Yeah, but they want to plant it in useless trees.
Yeah. And then there's fuck all timber out of it as well.
Yeah.
I do know that. Yeah.
It's all softwood.
Yeah.
Softwood, yeah.
It's no good.
And it's too wet as well in this country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was all great crack.
So to top it all off, anyway, Eamon Ryan's a cunt. And he's behind it. And I've on the chart.
I've
had a couple of attacks on Eamon Ryan in my videos.
I could go on all night.
But that's something I definitely want to talk about. Is like the Green Party is in a position of power, not much power. Like,
but they always
have too much.
They have too much power for what like look, their base again is in the cities. They get no support down the country. But this is the second time they've been in there, and the effects on farmers are still being felt from 2007.
Yeah, the last time. Oh yeah.
So like they're obviously the main driver of the carbon tax.
Yes.
Which is obviously having a big effect on you.
Unbelievable. Like, I'm just telling you.
I feel like you're holding a lot in. Just let it out. Let it out.
Eamon Ryan might be listening. He might want to hear this.
We'll tag him. Don't worry.
Yeah, but I'm not going to talk about taxes. I'm not going to talk about the different things. All my concern is the massive effect that this stuff is all going to have in the long term is we are going to lose a culture. There is going to be. People can say what they like about carbon tax. Some people are saying, the climate action bill is only going to affect farmers. No, it's not, because at the end of the day, every industry piggybacks off another industry.
Yeah,
timber industry, the building industry. Whether you're a pig farmer, sheep farmer, dairyman, it's all one big circle. It's all in your local town.
Of course it is.
And when these places start getting diminished, basically, and that is what's going to happen. We've seen it with Bord and Mona, like the Midlands lost. I can't even think the amount of jobs off the top of my head. But they took away
now they're importing turf now. That's fucking stupid altogether.
Yeah, and the latest one, I don't know, you might or might not seen, it was big hoo-ha that the ministers now said, we're going to be able to finish cattle under 30 months. We're going to do it in 24 months. And their long-term plan is to import grain from America to fix the carbon problem in Ireland. And we're going to bring it over in a container ship. Like, they're fucking lunatics. Like.
But when we were talking to Saoirse McHugh, she was saying that what Ireland are doing day in, day out, they're buying the carbon emissions of other countries. So they're not going in the red themselves. Yeah. So they can continue to produce carbon the way they are and not do any real long-lasting effects on making changes, because they're buying the supplements from Holland or wherever.
The main plan really as well is it's actually for the government to start buying up land, large companies to start buying up land, because these then are going to be their kind of cop-outs, as in, this company is producing this much carbon, but we own 2,000 acres. So that's our sequestration sorted. And it's kind of like, get out of jail free card. And that's what the government's trying to do as well. And you are going to see there is going to be large volumes of land. It's going to be almost bought up or nearly for sales in the next 10 years in Ireland. And who is going to stand up for those people? Nobody. That's the reality.
Do you mean compulsive purchasing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
That's what I see happening. There's going to be compulsive purchasing going on in Ireland. And if it's not compulsive, it's like the vaccine at the moment. it'll be an option, but it won't be an option.
Yeah,
it'll be, you know, you can keep your land, but here's the thing.
The squeeze and come on.
Yeah, it's manipulation. It's coercion. And that is the way it's going to happen. And it happens so systematically and so slowly that before you know it, it's just happened.
But this has happened before.
Yes.
This happened in America with Monsanto, where they were growing soya and then they became the monopolies, the monopoly in soya in America.
Yeah.
Like, so they would buy Monsanto farms, and then if their grain went into the field next door, they could sue you for growing their patented crop.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they just fucking lawyer up it's you as a farmer versus a corporation.
Yeah.
But see, none of this will change until there's a change in government and government as well. We need a government that will.
But like, you can't have a government that's in the pockets of these corporations.
Yeah.
And as well as that, until I think we need to invite a few French people over here, put the fire on people.
Yeah.
The scariest thing I've seen the last 2 years, and there's a lot of shit going on in the world. The scariest thing I learned was Bill Gates now owns the largest amount of land in the world.
That's crazy.
He owns
more than the Catholic Church.
Okay, way more. Have you seen the freaking? There was a highlighted picture showing exactly the amount of land he owns across the world. It is frightening.
What good is land to Bill Gates?
Because he holds all the agriculture then.
He owns the rights to the seeds as well, apparently.
Yeah.
Eventually, he owns the rights to the seeds. Yeah.
May as well be your man off Despicable Me, like the big ball guy going, you know, trying to take over the world. Like that is.
How long can't going to live for anyway?
Too much.
Listen. I think we should get Morris to sing the song that he was talking about. I think we should get him to sing the song. What do you reckon?
We'll see Morris. We'll see the podcast out with Morris singing a song, and it's for his dad that's passed away last month. But where can we, before we wrap it up, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on, it's the Long Acre Tipperary on Facebook. It's the Long Acre on Instagram. And then I also have other pages, which is the Long Acre Lifestyle, which is a kind of a startup business that I'm pricking at is the only way to go. And kind of feeling my way out, trying to start it up. And
these seeds grow into big oaks.
And I'm a bit quiet on social media at the moment, but it's just after the last couple of months, there's things going on, you know.
Yeah, of course. And your father passed away.
Yeah, of course, 100%. But give us a belt out of this song.
Yeah.
What's it called, Mars?
It's called the Old Man. So I sang it at the grave. I was just telling the boys, because I never sang for my father, so I said I couldn't let him go on the ground without hearing it once. And I suppose for a lot of Irish young lads and their fathers, I think this song depicts kind of how we're brought up, like. You know, your father teaches you the world and all, you know, in it. Those fortunate enough to have them, you know, that is the big thing.
That's it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Make you the man that you are, and this is what this kind of, I suppose, like I said, it kind of says. So I'll give it a word.
Yeah, fire ahead there, Mark.
The tears have all been shed now. We've said our last goodbyes. His soul's been blessed. He's laid to rest. And now I feel alone. He was more than just a father, my teacher, my best friend. And he can still be heard in the tunes we shared when I play them on my own. No, I never will forget him, for he made me what I am. And though he may be gone, memories linger on. And I'll miss him, the old man. As a boy, he'd take me walking by mountain, field, and stream. And he'd show me things not known to kings, secrets between him and me. Like the colors of the pheasant as he rises in the dawn. Or how to fish or make a wish beside a fairy tree. No, I never will forget him, for he made me what I am. And though he may be gone, memories linger on. And I'll miss him, the old man. I thought he'd live forever. He seemed so big and strong. But the minutes fly and the years roll by for a father and a son. And suddenly when it happened, there was so much left unsaid. No second chance to tell him thanks for everything he done. No, I never will forget him, for he made me what I am. And though he may be gone, memories linger on. And I'll miss him, the old man. And I'll miss him, the old man. God, I'll miss him, my old man. That was a bit shaky. I was absolutely trembling.
Well done.
Hard not to nearly cry doing that, boys.
No harm to let you.
Christ.
He's dead tomorrow a month, so I kind of wanted to do that for my mother.
Wow.
Because
What was his name?
Adrian. So
Adrian.
it meant a lot to my mother when I done it at the funeral and stuff. And
Wow.
I just felt that people would always remember him because I sang at the funeral, you know, because it's not
I have heard that
anymore.
song. I didn't know whether I had, but once you hit the...
That wasn't the best version of it now, because as I
No,
said,
it's
I'm
brilliant,
absolutely
man.
trembling doing it. But,
That is brilliant.
No, fair play. It's brave to do that.
It's not easy getting up and
you know,
and
but
singing.
it's culture like that. I feel that we're going to lose in the years to come.
Yeah, well,
That is.
I just hope that does not happen.
Any of us here have seen that in the pub.
Yeah,
Of course.
The thing is, will our kids see it? Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I know all them songs because of my father. They were playing in the car. Whereas now you don't hear that. You know, that's the way it is. Like.
True. Guys, go follow Morris on the Long Acre on Instagram and Facebook. Give him a message and tell him how amazing that song was. And subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks very much for having me, guys.
Yeah, no,
Cheers, guys.
listen, man.
Pleasure.
Thanks, lad. Sorry I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Biscuits in the song.
Do it again. We'll meet up again when he's 500 acres.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the Dead Hedgehogs YouTube channel.
Look, guys, and thank you very much for your support. And if you would like to support us a little bit more, you can always become a patron. The link is in the description. Cheers, guys.